Today we're talking about narrative evaluation and grading with Stacy Tellick-Reed. And Stacy, I'd like to turn it over to you to lead us through your presentation. And if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat box and I will get them to Stacy at an apropos moment.
Very cool. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate it. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We did a brief follow-up. I think it might have been last summer, and we didn't get a chance to go through a demonstration, so I was able to set that up today. So I just wanted to take you guys through the world of narrative evaluations. And so here's the agenda. I just wanted to maybe just talk about real briefly over some of the deadlines. And then as you see, we're one university, but each campus has a different evaluation detail that's specific to them. So we're going to go through that. And then I also have a demonstration. I will, in our test account, doesn't mess with any records, I will be submitting an evaluation on a New England campus as well as one for Santa Barbara. And that'll kind of submitting those two will kind of cover the different specifics on each campus. So just wanted to review a few deadlines really quickly before we got started. The end of term grading deadline. We get a lot of questions about this date. We get a lot of emails that say, well, what's the exact date? So I just wanted to go through that. But, according to university policy, the end of the grading term is no later than 10 business days from the date by which all student work is due, regardless of when that occurs in the term. So some people see that and it's confusing. So I just wanted to give a quick example. Let's just say I'm teaching English 1000 and the course ends, the last course meeting is December 3rd. All work is expected to be turned in by December 3rd, with nothing expected to come in after that date. So if that's the case in your last course meeting and all work is expected to be due by December 3rd, then you would just do 10 business days from that day. So it would mean that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, your narrative evaluation should be submitted by December 17th. Now let's say I'm teaching English 1000. This is the last course meeting, but I'm giving students until Monday, the 9th, to submit any paperwork, any final work that needs to be submitted for the course. Then your deadline would go from December 9th, when all work is expected to be due. And that would make your deadline for evaluations to be submitted by December 23rd. Some campuses have workshops, and these workshops take place maybe one day workshops in, let's just say for this term in November. If you have a one-day workshop on a Saturday and all work is expected to be turned in and done by that day, then you would count from that first Monday, and your evaluations are due 10 days from that day. So if it was all the work was expected to be in by December 7th, then it would be 10 business days from December 7th. And the same example, if you're having a workshop on Saturday, but you're giving them until Monday, maybe Tuesday in that week to complete all work, then that's when your deadline would start. So that is how you can kind of figure out when your narrative should be due. Now, with saying that, there may be some changes next year summer, because this has been kind of complicated and it's not really, it crunches close to our academic standing deadline. So there may be a change in the summer session of next year where it'll just be 10 days from the end of the term. And for online, it would be 7 days from the end of each session. But that's in the future and that's in the works, and that may be a change that comes through later on down the line. So for now, it's really 10 business days from the time all work is expected to be complete for the student. We also have an incomplete deadline. So we do have a lot of students that do receive incompletes for whatever reason for their courses, but incompletes will default to no credit at the end of the subsequent term. So any incompletes you may have given for the summer semester, summer quarter, they are set to default to no credit unless they are updated by the end of the fall term, which is December 18th. And that's an automatic default in the system. We have no control over that. That's how it's programmed to set. So with incompletes, you just have to be careful with those because, you know, instructors can give incompletes at his or her discretion, but students just know that they're going to default to no credit. And sometimes we do send out a memo letting you know that your incompletes from the following term are going to be defaulting soon. And we get a lot of replies that say, oh, well, I haven't heard from the student, so just let it default. Really, that's a place where you can just keep track of that exact situation. It's probably better to go into the evaluation and say, I haven't heard from my student, Jenny Joe. She had a deadline of, let's say, November 5th to get all the work in. I haven't received any work, haven't heard from her, and you get the no credit. Because if the system defaults to no credit, you're just going to lose a little bit of history that you and the student may have. I know Santa Barbara, they have a contract between the student and the faculty, and they both sign it agreeing that this is the day the work will be turned in, and if not, then the faculty can go in and submit the no credit or the credit depending on if the work comes in. So it's just important to know, because academic standing, if an INC is meant to be updated to credit, it should be done before academic standings, because the INC count as attempted but not completed. That's just something to know about no credits. They're not meant to stay on the record indefinitely. They will default to no credit at the end of the following term. And then academic standing as of now is always run on the third Monday of each term, no matter if you're semesters or quarters. So ultimately, we'd like to have all grades in by that Friday of week 2, so that academic standing can be run with the current grades in place. It benefits to have any students that have INCs updated to credit, especially if that term they are on warning or probation, because the INC, once academic standing is run, if it's run with an INC and a couple of days later it's updated to credit, it's a one-shot, it's a snapshot. They're not going to go back and run it for once the credit is updated. So it's really important to have those incompletes updated if in fact the work has been turned in and the student is ready to be graded. And then the last memo you might see from us, not everyone's going to see this memo. We do have students that are taking courses, credit-bearing courses, without the intention of earning credit. They want to audit the course. So these students will show up on your Sakai rosters, but they will not show up in self-service. So you will never submit an evaluation for any student who's auditing your course. So we send a memo out halfway through your term to let you know that you have a student or students auditing your course. And we just like to know if they're participating, attending, so that we can go in and sign an AU grade in the system. They get signed an AU grade. Auditing students can't get no credit, they can't withdraw, they can't have a no pass. They either are attending and receiving an AU, or they have to be dropped from the course. So that's the reason why we reach out to find out if the student is in fact attending and doing the work that they're expected to do as an auditing student. And if so, then we'll update that credit in the system, so that when we're ready to send our end of term memo, we're not asking you to submit an evaluation for a student that you're never going to have an evaluation for. So that's just something about auditing students. It doesn't happen too often, but we do have some students that audit credit-bearing courses. And so now I'm going to just talk a little bit about evaluations and different campus details. Every campus does something a little different as far as grading. So as far as New England is concerned, New England uses narrative descriptors to evaluate their students for their all courses, internships, practicums, supervised independent studies, and all other courses. So these descriptors are program-based. So these are something that your program decided, we're going to evaluate our students in our program against these criteria. So if there's ever any questions about how you evaluate your students using the descriptors, that's a question for your program, because that's something that should be set up already. So I just want to give you an example. It might be hard to see this one, but this is just a set of the descriptors for the internships and practicums that are found in the evaluation. And then we have it for the independent studies and other courses. So those are the criteria that New England uses to grade their students there. And then just like New England has specifics, all other campuses use custom section objectives. So that's used by LA, Santa Barbara, Seattle, and online. Just like New England, these are program-based. So if there's ever any question about your custom objectives or, or grading your students according to the objectives, that's a question for your program director. And then they're usually found on the syllabus that need to be copied and pasted into the evaluation before you can start evaluating. So those are some of the differences with the campuses. Yeah, and just custom objectives in the evaluation, and I'll show you in the demonstration, there's a little bit difference between setting up your narratives for the LA campus, Seattle, and Santa Barbara and online versus New England. And I'll show you that in the demonstration. But this is just to let you know that you'll always log in and see the screen, and these have to be managed first before your student list will populate. So I'll be able to show you a little bit of example of that. Another campus-specific practice is letter grade equivalence, LGEs. Santa Barbara, they're required for all students except the education program. Online, they're required for all students. And in Los Angeles, they're available by request. Students need to request a letter grade with their faculty by week 2 of the quarter in order to receive that. Antioch policy prohibits assigning retroactive letter grades. So it's really important to make sure that you're assigning those letter grades if students are requesting them or if they're requested at the time you're submitting your evaluation. So now I'm going to go in and do a quick example of a couple of evaluation submissions for New England and for Santa Barbara. Share another screen here. So can you guys all see my AU Direct screen here? Okay. So for testing purposes, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this. Oh, I'm sorry. Stop sharing all of this. I'm going to go ahead and show you where you can find self-service on your AU Direct, but for demonstration purposes, I will be using our test account. So some of you may see some information that's familiar to you, but just know it's a test account and I'm not doing anything to anyone's record. So for self-service, what you're going to do is when you go into AU Direct under services, this is where you'll find self-service. And that's where you should log into first. And you should come to a screen like this. It will look a little different. This is my test account, so this is the reason why it's a different color, but you will get it to a place where you should sign in. And you should see your space that says record narrative evaluations. So first I'm going to start with coastal geological class here. And as you see, this is a New England course. So right when faculty goes into their section, they'll be able to see all their information at the top, as well as their student list. Any blue link here, you should be able to click on ID number and go right into the evaluation and start submitting. So for Nathaniel, let's give him credit. He's excellent in class participation, excellent in mastery of course content. Give him a very good in quality of documentation. His overall performance, I'm going to say that he was excellent. So once this is complete, you'll see the message at the top that says ready to submit. Go ahead and submit. And that lets you know at the top corner you've gotten the message that your evaluation is submitted, your evaluation status is submitted, and you've awarded credit. Let's go in and just for demonstration purposes, let's give the student an INC. When an INC is given, you need to explain why you're giving an INC. It's a box here that lets you know, and usually this is a good place to say, to put in, you know, I'm giving this student until this date to complete the work. You know, just a little history so that you're aware of why this is here. So for testing purposes, I'm just going to write test. And you can see that the system is programmed that something has to be written before you can submit. So now that I've submitted, given a reason for my incomplete, I'm ready to submit. There are a lot of times when we're running our reports, you may receive an email from us saying, your evaluation hasn't been submitted yet. And you know, we get a reply, oh, I gave the student an INC and you know, it should be there. Whenever you're giving a student an incomplete, you shouldn't save it to draft, submit final. So it goes, the grade pushes through to the system. And once that is done, you'll still have access to this evaluation to update it. You won't have to email the registrar's office and ask for
Hello, Maria. How you doing? This is
access
Mr. Byron.
to submit the narrative. So
Yeah, this is Mr. Byron who was calling to see if it's okay to meet for therapy today.
okay, sorry about that. So I'm just letting it submit here. And sometimes when I'm sharing on Zoom, it moves a little slow. So that's the reason. But see, as you can see here now, you've given an incomplete for the student here, but you have editing access. So you don't need to let us know, oh, I need to go back in and update the student's evaluation. When you submit final, you still have access to go in and update that student's evaluation. So let's say you've gotten all the work in and he's done great work and now you want to give him credit. You should be able to do that, and you'll have to just go through and complete the responses here, and then you should be ready to submit. So that's just important to know, because we don't want to bother you with any emails if you've done everything that you need to do. But sometimes, I guess the perception is if it's saved to draft, then I can always get back to it later. But if you submit the final for an INC, you can always get back to that later as well. So then you just go through and submit. And now that's updated. So then it kind of gives you a history of here, you know, the credit award and who you submitted it to. And then just one more for Erica. Let's just say for, you know, unfortunately, we had to give Erica no credit. So a no credit box will come up and you need to say why. And we're just going to say test. And then I submit my final. Now I'm ready to submit and everything is good. Yeah. And we're ready to go. So that's how faculty in New England would go in and see their courses in self-service and evaluate their students. So I'm going to return back to my section now, and I'm going to, and it's just another note, if you ever log into your sections in self-service and see these little gold stars, as you can see, it's no longer here. That means these are sections you haven't been graded yet. So anytime you log in to self-service and you see that gold star, that means that that's a section that hasn't been submitted yet. And as you see, we just submitted a couple of evaluations for this section, so that little gold star is gone now. So I'm going to go ahead and do the demonstration here. This is what most faculty or all faculty in LA, Santa Barbara, and Seattle see when they need to go in and evaluate. As you see, there's no student list. It just gives you the message that you need to manage your custom objectives. A lot of times we get emails with screenshots of this, and faculty are saying, I can't see my student list. There's something wrong, I don't see my student list. And it's just because you have to manage these custom objectives first before your student list will populate. So I'm going to pop in a couple of objectives for this course so you can see how that works. And then also I can give a little example of the letter grades for how those are given as well. So for letter grade equivalents, just for everyone to know, letter grades are really an unofficial grade. It's a way to help our office calculate GPA equivalencies when students are needing that for other reasons, for other programs, applying to other schools, or maybe for verification purposes. So that just helps us calculate the GPA equivalency for the students. So for faculty, they would click on Manage Custom Objective Sections, and that pops up there. So you want to add your first one. And like I mentioned before, these come right off of your syllabus. So I'm going to copy and paste one from here. And I'm going to, I want to just delete this here. Won't let me. Copy this here. Oh, sorry about that. So we're going to click that little edit button, and I just want to delete this information here and add my custom objective, and then click done. And so then there's that, the first one. And then you just keep going until all of them are done. And you click the edit button, and I'm copying from my syllabus here. Done. I'm going to do one more for the demonstration. But your sections are set up where it's programmed so it knows how many you have. So you'll see that there may be a couple that are blank, because I'm just going to do a couple of these for the demonstration. So we're done. So once you've got them in, make sure you check them. Everything looks good, because once you click Save Changes and you click on a student's name, even if you haven't started evaluating, your template is locked and no more changes can be made. At this point, the only way we can fix any mistakes in your custom objectives is to open a ticket with IT, have them delete the section, and have you start again. So that's the only way to fix these once you've once you've saved them and started evaluating. So just be very careful when you're entering your course objective. And it happens sometimes. Just be very careful when you're entering those, because it is a little bit of a process. We do have to open up a ticket with IT and wait for them to delete that, and then we'll let you know that it's okay to go in and start your section again. So,
Stacy?
Yes.
I have a question from the chat.
Yes.
Equivalent letter grades. Do the number grades that are in the Sakai gradebook show up anywhere in this system, or is the letter grade assigned to the student in the narrative the last number connected to that student?
Well, great question, because online, as of now, their assigning of letter grades is completely different from LA and Santa Barbara. So that is all dealt with IT, with the Sakai gradebook and how they upload and put the grades on the evaluation. So that's something, another campus specific. Thank you. That was actually a great question. That is a campus specific to online only. So the grade book, I think that's a Vanessa and a Bruce IT thing, but it does take them a lot of time. But that is how letter grades for online are uploaded to the narrative. They're not entered the same way as Santa Barbara or LA. So we are in talks of changing it, because it really does create a lot of work for Vanessa and Bruce to have to import grades from the grade book in Sakai. And I think, there's maybe, just tons of students, and it may take an hour or two, maybe longer, just to upload one student. So we are hoping to move towards online, having a template. We'll be creating brand new templates where online can also enter their letter grades through the narrative. So that's something that hopefully will be in the works sooner than later, because it is very time consuming for Ryan and IT. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go into Brian, and as you'll see, this is what online faculty, when they log in, they don't have this option. They would just have a grading option and whatever custom objectives may be there. So as you see, these are the couple of custom objectives I entered before I clicked on my narrative. So I have the 3 here, and I'm going to go ahead and grade Brian. So let's say Brian received credit, he's done great work, and I've gone through his work, and to me, the equivalent of his work is worth an A. We would mark that there. So just for letter grades, again, these never show up on any transcripts. They don't show up on the degree audit. They never show up anywhere but on the narrative. So if students ever needed to present this to someone, they can request their narratives with that information, or a lot of times they do request a GPA equivalent, and that's something our office can provide for them. So we just go through and grade them by the objectives here. So let's just say that the work is excellent, explains, yes, the work is good, and the work is good. Then you would write in what you need to write in your comment boxes. And different templates are set up different ways. Some of them are just comment boxes. Some of them have program goals here, and then critical thinking, established. The one thing is that you will have to complete the entire, once you give credit, you will have to complete the entire evaluation. If you give no credit or incomplete, you just have to complete that box as a reason, and given the reason why you did that. Let's say you're advanced in communication, established in self-awareness, test, and this evaluation is done. So go right back up to the top here, and it's ready to submit. Everything's, and it will let you know if you're missing in a response here. So it's pretty good about making sure you've completed everything before you submit it, and just go ahead and submit that final grade. And students do have to have a type on their record in order to view the letter grade. So like I said, Santa Barbara is required for all students except the education program, and online as well. They're required to give a letter grade regardless if the student ever sees it or not. It's just there for grading purposes. And then you just go in, and like I said, no credit. You don't have to complete the whole thing. You just give a reason in the no credit box, and then you're ready to submit your evaluation. So those are just the differences on the different templates and different narrative evaluations for Antioch, just depending on where you're located in the system. So I think that about wraps it up. I'm sure there's some questions there. So if we wanted to get started on answering some questions, that's great. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
Great. So if anybody wants to ask a question, feel free to unmute. If you don't have a mic, feel free to type your question in the chat and I will ask it for you. No question too simple.
Yes, hello, this is Byron.
Hey, Byron.
Hi, Byron.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got into the video probably about maybe 7 minutes out. Because I didn't realize I had to download Zoom, and I just wanted to know, did I miss anything as far as signing in? I saw where you were basically going through and scrolling down, clicking on how the student achieved in the course from excellent. Did I miss anything before then?
Byron, we're recording the video, so I can send it out to you afterwards, and you can catch those first 7 minutes all over again if you want to.
Okay, great. And then the second question, I'm still not quite clear on, because I have one student who is interested in receiving a grade, and I just want to make sure that I record it correctly. And from what I saw on the video, make sure that under the narrative section is where the letter grade is posted. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So what campus are you on, Byron?
I'm on the LA campus.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'll be vacillating back and forth from the LA campus to the Culver City.
Okay, so when you log into self-service, you should see all that information there. There's a space there where you can give a letter grade. There is a spot where you can hide that information from faculty and students. And we don't really advise clicking that button, but when you log into your section, you should see everything there that you need to go ahead and grade the student. And really, if we're going to give a letter grade, usually in LA, it's because it's by request. So we do want the student to be able to see that grade. So you just make sure you mark a letter grade and don't mark anything else in the evaluation where it says hide or unhide, and you should be okay with that. But if there's ever any issues with grading, period, you're having problems with custom objectives, you need to access something, you need to fix something, just email the registrar's office, and I have a narrative team. My specialist Vinny is on the call, and I have a specialist Jean. We are the narrative team, and we can answer any of those questions and troubleshoot any issues you may have with your narratives.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And then the second question is pertaining to the IT group. Is there a number, or should it be best to contact them through email?
There's in self-service on your AU Direct, there is actually a place where you can open the ticket to open a ticket. So let me just see if I can show this really quick. Here, when you go into,
You need to share, Stacy. You're not sharing anymore.
Okay, I was halfway there. Can you see my AU Direct? Perfect. So when you want to go to add content, if you just click on IT Help Desk, that will give you you can start opening your ticket there and just filling out the information you need. But any IT issues you're having, you should probably contact us first at the registrar's office, and the narrative team can go in and try to check that out. And if it does in fact need to be a ticket open to delete the narratives, we can go ahead and do that for you. So it might be better to reach out to us first, because if you open a ticket with IT and it's something that we can take care of, they're just going to forward that information to us.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have another question from the chat from BJ Bullard. Are there norms around word counts for commentaries across campuses or in narratives in evaluations?
No, I think right now it's pretty open. I know that we had talked with a coordinator here in LA who wanted to make it a minimum or a maximum, but right now they should be able to write what they need to in those comment boxes without any limitation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, BJ. I know a lot of you by name, so it's good to see a lot of you guys by face.
I have a question that has more to do with the longer term implications of this, because as you know, each campus has its own microculture and its own system for evaluating, and its own, there's now an attempt, of course, in BA to align learning outcomes, but we haven't gotten there yet. And I'm wondering if you could just talk about the emergent goal. Is there going to be an effort to do the across-the-board systematization in terms of letter grade equivalencies? Because if so, Seattle's off the charts. Or rather, not on the planet yet.
There are talks about it. There's some programs I think there was one in Seattle where I know Rachel had reached out and Ben reached out, because there are some programs that are thinking about it. I know undergrad in LA, it's been in talks about requiring it for all. And it really is helpful for us to run that, to have that information, because for LA students and for Santa Barbara students, we have a report that runs that information, and we can run it and get the information as soon as possible. For New England, we have to calculate by descriptor. So we have a spreadsheet where we have to load all the descriptors, and then it'll calculate a GPA for us. So it really is up to each individual program how they want to move forward with letter grades. But yes, it would make life a lot easier if campuses use those. And even if you never showed it to the student, it just makes it a little easier for us to calculate that information for students when they need it, because a lot of the times they need GPA information if they want to go on to other programs.
Well, if there were a provision for doing that, I'd be happy to do that. But, I don't want to have to upset the system.
No, and I know there are talks about that. So that may be a conversation to maybe start with Ben to see if that's something that could be required, because I know one program was thinking about that, and I think they may be using them, or they talked about using it, and I don't know if they've moved forward with any action on that.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome, BJ.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
So I'm trying to do, let's see. Okay, I'm in AU Direct and I'm looking at services. In my notes, it says then look for the record eval, but I don't see it.
And when you're in services, you're going to look for this purple box that says self-service. So it's probably towards the bottom.
Got it. There it is.
And then
okay.
You log in. Yeah, and we recorded the call. I think you came in late, we recorded the call, but yeah, you can go there and check. And then when you log into your section, we had implicated a little gold star. So the little gold star indicates all courses that haven't been graded yet. So you should be able to log right in to there. Bye-bye, Meg. You're welcome.
So then when I'm in there, I see, oh, got it. Got it. Okay, that worked. Thank you.
Cool, good.
Steve had a question that said, for AUNE, we just provide a narrative grade, correct? Is that a narrative eval text or a letter grade?
For New England, it's just credit, no credit, pass or no pass, depending on the course, or IMP. And the IMP, every now and then you'll see an IMP grade. Those are specific for courses that we know aren't going to be completed in the term. So in LA, we have a lot of travel courses, and they meet during the term for maybe 5 weeks, but they don't travel till after the term is over, and then there's usually work that follows up. So the IMPs are handled a little differently. But yes, New England is just, there shouldn't be any indication anywhere for New England about a letter grade. Everything is captured in the descriptors or the credit, no credit.
All right, so we have outstanding, excellent, very good, good, unsatisfactory, something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Great. I think Shira had a question.
Yes, Stacy, thank you. I'm in Santa Barbara. 2 questions. One is, with an auditing student, who do I let know that this person has audited the course the whole time?
Well, we'll usually send you an email and say, hey, Shira, we see that you have this student auditing your course. Just can you let us know if they're attending or doing the work? And that usually comes in for the quarters, probably like halfway through, maybe week 5, just to kind of see if the student is attending. And then, you know, you just reply to the email, yes, everything is good, or no, I haven't seen the student at all, and we will take it from there.
Okay, I'll look for that email. And then Stacy, the other question is about the comments, the narrative comments. Is there anything in particular that those need to be addressing?
Not that I know of. I'm not sure, unless, you know, there's some are set up to where they may have a specific direction, like you're commenting on something. It may ask you to give a brief description on how the student is progressing, or so it really all depends on if there's anything, a specific question or a specific statement that you're answering, or if there's just additional information that you feel is important to include in the comment boxes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Shira.
Anyone else? So I
have a quick question. I just want to confirm that I understood correctly that the customized learning objectives are the ones that we're lifting from the syllabus. Like I have 4 that were approved by my chair at the start. So those are the 4 I paste in, and that's what they will be evaluated on. Okay.
If you paste those in and hit done, yes, you'll see those populate on your on the template once you click on a student to evaluate.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I'll be putting this recording on the AUAT website. You can find our little blue button in AU Direct with all the other buttons. And if you go to the workshop schedule, the past workshops will show a link. It says Zoom recording of this session. And you can tell your coworkers that they can go here. It'll be up for 240 days. That's how long Zoom keeps our content. And definitely, if you have any other questions, email the registrar at antioch.edu or click the registrar button in AU Direct. There's some tutorials and documentation in their website. I'll share my screen and show you where I find it. Here.
Yes, and there's
right here.
Yeah, and then the guide that we usually send out a guide attached to the end of term memo, and that information is there as well, and that just kind of takes you through how to access your section and set up your evaluations based on where you're located.
Yep. So here are all the tutorials for advisors, faculty, and staff. And again, you can find that right here under the registrar's office button. And our AT tutorials you can find under the blue academic technology button.
Hi, BJ. Thank you.